Vlogmas Day 11. Have you ever had one of those days where you get up and you're like, I would just love to stay home and not go to work? And today's one of those days. It's 9 degrees out, very windy, and very, very tempting to stay home snuggled under my blanket. Now, I'm on my lunch hour, and I also get tempted during lunch to just go lay down and snuggle up under my quilts and not go back to work. But I only think about that today. I have things to do that are very important, and if I were really sick, then that's a different story. But on days like today, where I'm cold, I'm achy, it doesn't take much, and I feel like everything is very, very difficult and complicated, I usually do a craft of some sort, and I come home for a break. Now, if you can't come home for lunch, I have that luxury because I live in a small town, and I live a mile and a half from the office. I usually sew if I have something cut out and prepared, which today I don't, but I like knitting simple things. This is a seed stitch, super easy. You knit and then you purl, and the next row you purl and then you knit. This is Aldi yarn I got for $6 for like a big 1-pounder, and they said to cast on about 44. I'm using a size 6 circular needle just to keep them together, and I knit. I like to knit in the evening or hand sew hexagons, and I'll probably show that on another time. But it's just really, really soothing to be able to, I lost my stitch there. It's just very soothing to be able to come home and just knit away the frustrations of the morning, and to be able to just become mindful. I usually sit in silence because I just need to listen to the traffic. The snow is falling, the wind is blowing, and breathe. I knit one, and now I'm purling one. Oh no, I dropped it. I'll try it again. Let's try that purl again. Try to do something on camera and it becomes all weird, right? Every time. And you gotta be able to laugh. So now I'm going to purl where I've knitted. The first couple are always rough, and then I knit where I purled. And I'm left-handed, but I want to tell you a funny story about knitting. So I learned how to knit out of an old book, and my mother tried to show me, but because I'm so left-handed and she hadn't knit in a while, so I got a book. It's called the Reader's Digest Encyclopedia to Needlework, and it's an old book from the 70s and 80s. I think this one was a 1970s edition, and it had all these pictures that showed you how to knit and all the different stitches. I was fascinated with all the different patterns and stitches, where you could make cables and do the seed stitch or the moss stitch, or knit where it looked like little butterflies or owls. And I taught myself how to knit. My mom showed me how to do a basic cast on, and YouTube wasn't around then. So years later, I'd been knitting for my kids, like little hats and scarves. I even did Picture Knits is another book from the late 80s, early 90s, where you knit in the yoke, Fair Isle knit, and I did like snowmen and different little designs. And then I decided I was going to learn how to knit a hat, and I was knitting in the round. Only the stripes all twisted like a candy cane. I could not figure out for the life of me what I did wrong. And I had taught my daughter, who was in college by this time, how to knit and do the cast, where I am here, where you throw the stitch. Well, I taught myself how to knit in nursing school, my friend who was a big time knitter, she didn't catch it either. But when I was knitting the wrong way, when I taught myself, it worked fine if you're not in the round. I was going in the back loop and then throwing the stitch. And it twists your work. The other way that you should knit to keep your work from warping and twisting is to go in the front of the loop and then around. I can't believe I knit like that for 15, 20 years. Now, I looked it up, and there are people who do knit like that. You know, I didn't know that there are like many, many different ways that you could knit, and it wasn't wrong, but at the same time, it has a purpose. You know, like if you're going to do where you knit in the back post, like I just did, those are speed knitters usually, and they don't throw the stitch like I do. They kind of just pick it up and go along. But anyway, so I told my daughter, well, she had taught several people at college how to knit too, all the wrong way. So we had to relearn how to knit so that when you knit in the round, like a hat or a cowl that has a specific pattern, especially stripes, they don't turn into like a barber pole or a candy cane. So I like to knit as a fidget. I can do cables. I tend to not do garments because it's hard for me to fit the neck and the shoulders and stuff. And I don't like that big long-term projects for knitting, but I do enjoy having a scarf or a hat. I've not done gloves, but fingerless mittens I've done, and lots of cowls because they're quick, they're easy, and they're fun to do at night while you're watching TV. And there's just something about the repetitive nature of knitting where you can just touching the texture of this and the repetitive nature of moving your yarn and your needles, the clicking sounds, it can be very, very relaxing. And I go slow. I have no pressure to go fast. So that's why I come home from lunch from work on cold, bitter days. I brave the snow and I have a few moments of peace and knit or sew or cut some fabric out for the next project, because that's what keeps me grounded, balanced, and mindful of all the good things, even on a day where it's not so good. So I'm going to head back to work, and you all have a great day and take time to create something, even if it isn't 100% right.